In 1990, Sega released Phantasy Star 2 in North America, the second game in the sci-fi RPG series. The story takes place 1,000 years after the events of the first game. There's been a sudden increase in biomonsters on your home planet, and Rolf is given a mission to locate a recorder in a laboratory in hopes of finding out the cause. You travel with your partner Nye, and meet up with several other companions in your quest. For an older game, the plot is very interesting and features a couple of nice twists. The graphics in this one are an improvement over the first Phantasy Star, however the presentation is a bit lacking. The first game had colorful backgrounds during combat that would change depending on where you were. This one just has a grid background that never changes. The first one also had 3D dungeons. They were a little plain looking but still really cool to navigate. This game's dungeons are viewed from overhead and are confusing as hell. You'll find that drawing your own map won't even help at times. There's a dungeon early on that seems like a dead end and will require you to think outside the box in order to complete it. The dungeons are so confusing that the original North American release actually included a hint book with maps, because they knew people would get stuck. There are only 2 planets to explore this time, and thankfully Dezolis isn't super annoying to navigate like it was on the Master System. You can easily warp from town to town, and if you need to go back to Motavia, getting to your ship is simple as well. Combat in this game is your standard fare, random encounters and turn-based battles. A new feature to the series is the continuous battle mechanic. All you have to do is select Fight, and your characters will use physical attacks or whatever the last tech or item you selected was. If you need to change your strategy or heal, simply press any button, including the D-pad, and when the next round begins, you'll be able to issue orders again. The continuous battle feature comes in very handy because you will be doing lots of grinding in this game. Whenever you enter a new town, you'll generally have to fight monsters around town for about an hour or so until you can afford the latest gear. And you definitely want the strongest weapons and armor because this game is extremely challenging. The enemies are very well designed, especially the robotic ones, although there is a bit of palette swapping going on. At first you will be fighting biomonsters, but after a certain event you will fight only robotic enemies for a while. After that you'll get a mix of the two. One big flaw the game has is one of its final boss fights. After dealing with so many hours of grinding and confusing dungeons, it is a huge bummer to have one of the boss fights rely entirely on luck. The boss randomly chooses characters to turn evil, which will make them unable to fight, disable their techs, or cause them to steal from other party members. The only way to cure the condition is if one of your items decides it wants to dispel the evil or not. Sometimes it can take 1 turn, other times it may take 5. I had to fight that damn boss 15 times before I was able to defeat it. The soundtrack isn't quite as good as the first game, but still features many memorable tracks. Sound effects could be a bit better though, they really clash with the awesome battle music, and seem to be a little too loud. Even though it's not as good as the first game in the series, Phantasy Star 2 is still a great RPG. While it is not for everybody, those who don't mind a little grinding and old school challenge will definitely enjoy it. It's one of the best RPGs on the Genesis, and in the 16-bit generation. I want to thank you guys for watching, and stay bawesome.